everyone. Welcome to the most recent episode of Steaming Pile of Awesome, the podcast where we watch shitty movies so you don't have to. I'm your host, Darryn and this is my co-host, Rob Corluck. Rob, why don't you say hi to the folks?
It's good to see you again, Darryn, and I can't wait to unpack this movie with you. Episode 4 here, Sharknado.
Sharknado.
This was the one that you chose, by the way. You chose this one. I want you to remember that.
I regrettably did choose this one. This movie apparently necessitated 4 subsequent sequels.
Yes. There are 5 of these things.
Yeah, the 4th one I'm actually the most excited to see because I don't know if you know the subtitle of it. It is Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakening.
Nice.
It's
nice.
Beautiful.
They have some great ones there.
Yeah. So we'll get straight into it. We'll do the 2-minute drill.
Hurricane David is poised to be the first hurricane.
It's a storm. That's what's driven them all up north.
I've never seen so many of them nor so bold.
It's barely even raining.
It's flooding here, and not the plumbing, the ocean.
You need to go home.
I'm not going anywhere.
Storm's coming and it's coming fast. Just can't sit back and watch this.
Tornado's heading towards the airport. We need to destroy it before it gets to them. Watch out!
You can't just wait here and wait for sharks to rain down on us.
We're gonna throw bombs into the tornadoes.
It's too dangerous. Too many of them. We're gonna need a bigger chopper.
Claudia, move!
It's time to leave Kansas, mate.
Straight into it. We'll do the 2-minute drill on what this movie is all about. So we have our main character, Ian Ziering, of course, from Beverly Hills 90210, if you remember. He plays Finn Shepard, who is a local bar owner, local to California. And his ex-wife played by one of my high school crushes, Tara Reid. So it was good to see her again.
Of American Pie and Van Wilder fame.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yes. All right. So where we start off, Finn is swimming in the ocean, doing some surfing, and there is a sudden wave of sharks headed his direction, which of course is part of the shark tornado that is on its way to California, where they don't usually have tornadoes or hurricanes or anything other than earthquakes, really. So,
so this is new.
Yes, yeah. So the hurricane is headed on its way, followed by tornadoes, and Finn needs to rescue his now ex-wife April, his daughter, and his son. So he teams up with a couple of his a waitress from the bar as well as one of the regulars, and they head up north towards the away from the water to rescue the family. They rescue the family, and they keep heading further and further inland to get away from obviously where the coast is and the sharks are. But the sharks do follow them in a series of sharknadoes onto the mainland. Yeah, as all sharknadoes do.
Have to take your word for it. This is the only one of these I've seen.
Yes. So, spoiler alert here. They do end up at a flight academy where they are able to basically hijack a helicopter. They begin the process of, and Rob, you are a physicist of sorts.
Yes.
Is it
not
possible?
Of sorts? I literally am one. Yes, go ahead.
We're going to put an asterisk beside the physicist there.
Okay. We'll discuss that.
Do you believe in your heart of hearts that it is possible to, as they do in this movie, bomb a tornado into stopping? It's a yes or no question.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say you don't do physics with your heart, Darryn. It's all math and science.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that was a bit of a leap for me. It was a miracle exception that I had to assume to enjoy this film, and I am going to tell you that I did believe it. They made me believe it. Ian Ziering made me believe.
Yeah, he
Continue.
tied you down and forced you into belief.
with his acting.
Yes. Yes, long story short, they end up bombing all 3 tornadoes
Excellent.
and stopping the tornadoes, and everybody lives happily ever after. We assume that Finn and April probably reconnect at some point. The son ends up with the waitress at the end of the movie, which I thought was pretty interesting, considering she was crushing on Finn pretty hard all throughout.
Yeah, she switched up for the younger model, yes.
Yeah. So why don't you walk us through some of the finer points that you had selected in this movie? You had it broken down into 5 stages, I believe.
Yeah, actually, I just kind of had it broken up as to like each time they changed either scenery or a vehicle, which in this movie is like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
But you definitely explained the plot very well, man. And I think if that was the movie, I'd definitely watch it. So if that was a game of would you watch this, my answer would be definitely yes. So the part that the movie starts with, which I think is probably the least important part of the whole movie, is we start off on a boat that actually experiences the Sharknado first, and it's full of a bunch of bad guy smugglers who are like cutting, like they're harvesting shark fins, I think, for shark soup. Is that what they're doing?
I believe they're making fin soup. Yes.
Yeah.
Not
so we have
Finn, the future actor.
Right.
But Finn off of the shark, yes.
Yes. I absolutely love that his name is Finn Shepard. And
it can't be anything else.
He spends most of the movie herding people around, which I think is absolutely perfect. Oh, man, somebody should have gotten a raise for that. So this is the first experience we have with the Sharknado, and a bunch of bad guys die. But one part that I thought was really interesting there was the captain has a gun, and that's how he uses to like negotiate his price, is with sheer threats and force. The other guy in the scene also has a gun, but he never actually like uses it. He pulls it out at one point and makes a threat, and then is immediately shot in the knee and then eaten by sharks.
Yes.
It's just like, what was this guy thinking? He brought a gun to a gunfight and he still didn't use it.
It still had no interest in using it. Yeah,
no, he was fine.
He was clearly a prop.
Yeah. Yeah, he was not loaded. He was just fronting. Absolutely.
So after all of the poachers are killed, then we move on to the next scene where we are introduced to almost all of the main characters. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. Were you a little confused too? Because I felt like I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or it was all happening so fast. Something about this movie that I noticed is like I felt like I like to write a lot of notes, and I found myself like not writing notes during this movie because things are happening so fast that like by the time I finished writing a sentence, I've missed something else. So like this movie goes real quick. You're at the bar, you're meeting everybody, and it's just like one after another after another. So like we start the movie with an introduction to Finn, and he's walking with his buddy. I believe his name is Baz. Baz from Tasmania, I think is who it is. So I just called him Taz the whole time because he's kind of got this like Tasmanian accent. And they're walking down the beach, and Finn is talking to him, and he says, "Oh man, there's crazy waves out there today, but there's something unnatural about it." And Baz says, "Yeah, there's something unnatural about everything." I was like, can you help me understand what that means? I was a little confused.
I cannot. I found that a lot of the dialogue in this movie was almost a throwaway, as if they were running out of ominous music and just needed to put it in at the last, possibly in the editing. They're like, I don't know, make him say that everything is supernatural.
Ad-libbing and improving on the spot, maybe too.
Right. Yeah. Just
so like
not qualified to do such.
Right after this, there's this girl surfer stretching on the beach, and our two heroes walk past her. And usually in movies, when there's like two buddies side by side, there's always like a dialogue between the two when they see a pretty girl. And usually you've got the crass guy say something, and then the good guy kind of corrects him or mansplains it to him or something. But in this movie, it's kind of funny because literally the entire dialogue is done by Finn.
Lots of scenery today. I'm gonna focus on the waves.
He says the first thing and then contradicts it and says the second thing. So they walk past the girl and he goes, "Oh, a lot of scenery out here today." And then immediately says, "I'm going to focus on the waves." It's like, He's gonna like walk himself off there.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Yeah. So Steve from 90210 is our hero, and they also have Nova. Did you want to talk a little bit about Nova?
Yeah, the introduction to Nova's pretty good. She is waiting tables at the bar while Finn is out surfing and checking
Like
out
all
young
good
beauties on the
bosses
beach.
do. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
During
and,
peak season, yeah.
At the first introduction, we do see that Nova has a scar on her leg, which is just very obviously a poorly done shark bite scar.
Yes.
And
yes. There was no doubt it wasn't a shark bite.
Yes, and she is dodging grab ass from one of our other main characters, who's played by John Hurd. This is George the Drunk, who does a good job of playing a hopeless drunk.
Yes. Now, did
so,
you recognize John Hurd? Did you recognize him when you saw him?
I know that he's the dad of. I could not place it, but
he is a dad in a very important movie.
And I'm
the
seeing
dad
here now.
Yeah, Kevin McAllister of Home Alone.
Yes, from Home Alone. Yes,
he's
absolutely.
from Home Alone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Home Alone.
So
He has
McAllister.
fallen far from his days of being Mr. McAllister.
Well, in my defense, if I misplaced my son at least twice, maybe 3 times, I probably would turn into a drunk as well. So
fair enough. Yeah.
She says to him, "You can touch anything in this bar except me." That's what she tells him in the opening scene, because he does get a little grabby. Which I mean, you and I, we've mentioned in a previous episode, we were both bartenders at one point. Does this mean he gets to pour his own drinks or what?
I don't think that's exactly what that means. No.
Okay, fair enough. Seemed a little strange.
We go back to the beach, and Finn is out surfing. The lovely brunette that he was checking out on the beach is also out. They congregate in the water when Finn kind of swims over to chat with her, and she is promptly attacked by a shark.
Not before calling him Grandpa, though. She calls him Grandpa first.
She does call him Grandpa a few times, yes. In case we needed to establish that Finn is in fact older than her.
All right, Grandpa, I'm going to show you how it's done.
Grandpa?
Show me how it's done, Grandpa.
She really hammers that home, yeah. So she is attacked by sharks, not just one shark, mind you, but there is a literal lineup of sharks heading towards the beach, like hundreds. And I don't know if you notice this, but every time they show the shark in the water, regardless of if it's in the house, which they do enter houses, or a swimming pool, or the ocean, or a sewer, it is always the same stock photo and video of a shark approaching and swimming around the camera, regardless of the light, regardless of the position that they're in, regardless of the structure that they're in, always the same.
This is coming from the guy who loved Velocipaster, where they missed the visual effects scene, and this movie actually is giving you the CG sharks, and you're not happy.
Give me originality or give me death.
Oh my God. Okay, so this is where we start to disagree on this one.
Yes, absolutely.
This is glorious. In this very scene, you have like what I called like the fin cam, which once again, not to be confused with our hero, but like it shows the shark's fin as it's approaching the girl, and they only use this once, and it's right now when she gets attacked. And what I loved about this scene was he was telling her to get out of the water, and it's like, get out of the water, get out of the water. And he's 10 feet from her and also in the water. So yeah, he's kind of like a do as I say, not as I do kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One thing that I did love about the shark attack scene here is that after the shark attacks the actress on the surfboard that Finn is currently yelling to get out of the water, he continues to yell for everybody to get out of the water, and we see several people go down and like get 50? Eaten by the sharks.
Maybe 50 people.
But they're all in ankle-deep water.
Yes.
Like, it's not even close to being deep enough. Well,
they're coming in on the waves, man. They're coming in on the waves. Like, that's part of that's part of this whole Sharknado thing, is it's supernatural, man.
I love suspended disbelief in movies, but a shark does not fit in ankle-deep water. Also, their fins aren't even sticking out. Like, they're literally submarining somehow in 6 inches of water and eating human beings whole.
They had found a way. So like before all of this melee goes down, because it is absolute just carnage at this point on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So while Finn is flirting with this surfer girl, Baz is in the background on his jet ski, just like egging him on and totally third wheeling it too. He's like, "Oh yeah, show her some moves, Grandpa." And it's like, dude, quit third wheeling. I'm trying to get my game going here.
Yeah. So then, unfortunately, we need to move past this scene.
Please.
One thing to note, though, because it will come back in later on in the movie, is that Baz is actually attacked during this. Yeah. And his foot or his lower leg is badly mangled.
Yes.
So we move on past that really quick. They head to the bar. The bar inside is completely peaceful. It's just an absolute fine day. Every time they look out the window, it is like it's Armageddon outside. Like there's literally thunderstorms and hurricane and all of this going on. And they go back and it's just broad daylight in the bar and everybody's just chilling. So he kicks everybody out of the bar. Sharks start coming in through the windows. They attack a couple patrons. Nova at one point, Shark lands on the ground by the pool table.
Yes.
She grabs the pool cue and stabs it. And the bar drunk, of course, George looks at Nova and says, "You know, for an environmentalist, you sure do hate sharks."
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Just a fantastic line. So the bar has been abandoned. It is now in shambles.
Yeah, he decided to close up early after that, yeah.
Yeah, it's time to shut down. So the bar's in shambles. They decide to take off, and now it is time to head up the mountain to save Finn's ex-wife, who is not wanting to see him at all whatsoever.
No, she's not buying it.
Yeah.
She thinks everything's fine.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a scene getting through the beach up to the coast, or up the coast, and obviously more inland to where they do arrive at April's house.
No, before they arrive at the house, we get our first of 4 Jaws references in this movie, Darren. Were you looking for these Jaws references? Did you
I was looking for the end of this movie the whole time.
Okay, geez, just stop. So may have noticed that while they were running towards Finn's car, that Nova is attacked by a shark on the boardwalk, and to kill the shark, they shove a metal cylinder into its mouth and shoot it, and that compression destroys the shark. Right. So this is obviously how the Jaws 1 ends, is with the killing of the shark with this propane tank or whatever it is. So this is the first of 4 references that I caught to Jaws in this movie. So every time we get to another one, man, I'll be happy to enlighten you. But this was the first that I noticed.
Press pause on that. So, so they obviously navigate through the terrain. They do have a moment when George unfortunately bites the dust. He saves a dog from a vehicle. And then just gets randomly disoriented and waits for sharks to come down, and then gets eaten.
I think he was caught off guard by the waves coming in over the top of the freeway, because I think it blocked his path back to the car. I think that's what happened. But and in this scene we get the first moment where Finn shows his true colors. He has to help people who are in trouble. This is a running thing for Finn throughout the entire movie. If there are people in trouble, he needs to help them. But what I found really interesting is that he doesn't really help anybody in this scene. They get some people off the freeway, but they were already getting off anyway. The only people who get saved by anyone is George saves that dog, and by breaking a window and getting it out of the car, and then is immediately killed, and unceremoniously too. And then George was one of my favorites. So yeah, rest in peace, George.
we salute you, buddy.
Yeah.
So we arrive at April's house, played by Tara Reid. She is livid that Finn has showed up, and Finn against at this point is basically demanding custody of a daughter who looks no younger than 21. So I don't know
that's
why he needs visitation rights for his obviously adult daughter.
Yeah, she looked quite older than I expected. Yes. When they were talking about her, she to me I thought was maybe going to be 10. Yeah. Right? But like if Ian Ziering in this movie is 49 years old. So to put that in perspective, he's older than Patrick Stewart was when he first started Star Trek: The Next Generation. So like Ian Ziering is 49 here, so he could have a teenage daughter. I don't know if she was 21 or not, but the story kind of checks out with her. Now, when I'm not going to fast forward on you or anything, but when we get to his son, which we don't even know about in the film at this point, we don't even know he has a son at this point. But when we get there, I'll have some words there to agree with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to meet broke-ass Billy Zane with hair here. So go ahead. I won't spoil it. Continue.
So Finn and the gang show up, minus George. April's livid. They get into a fight with the new stepfather, Finn versus new stepdad, who is obviously just a colossal twat.
Finley, April is mine.
Excuse me?
My girlfriend is not your responsibility. And unless it's the 20th of the month, which it currently is not, neither is Claudia.
During this whole exchange. But he is short-lived. About 30 seconds into their argument, Sharks break through the window. Now, what I really appreciated about this was the Sharks came through the window, and there was enough water in the house that everybody was up to their chest. So stepfather bites the dust. There's blood all in the water. This is where we get to one of my other lines that I'll have you pick from.
Oh, good, because this might be my favorite line of the whole movie. But keep going. I
believe it's Taz who looks down at the bloody water and says, "Looks like it's that time of the month," which is the worst, most inappropriate thing that one person can possibly say in front of a bloody pool of water.
And several women.
And yes, and they are outnumbered by women at this point. It's 3-2. So,
if you don't count Colin, who's floating around in the water a bit, but,
right?
I mean, it could be tied if you count the parts. Yeah, that's
what
a bad
I really
line.
appreciated about this. What I really appreciated about this was, as I mentioned, the water is now full of blood. It's up to their chests. They're struggling to bat a shark away with an armoire that they've knocked over.
Bookshelf.
They finally get out of the house, and this is where I just lose all hope for the movie. There's almost no water on the ground outside. Like the water level is 0, and somehow in the house it is up to their chest. There's no plumbing leak. There's no reason for this water. Also, they had to open a door to get out of the house.
Yes. So where all the water spilled out with it.
Yes.
I don't think you quite understand how waves work, Darren. I think that's the issue here. Is just a mild ignorance to how waves work. Like there's a crest and there's a trough. So I mean, obviously the crest broke into the house and then was later drained away. My bigger issue was this looks like a really nice house in Beverly Hills. You mean to tell me there is literally only one exit at the bottom of the stairwells? That's just poor engineering right there.
Yes, absolutely.
They couldn't get out any other way.
Yeah, they do escape.
Yes.
They need to kill a shark as they walk out the door because Lord knows they're flying all over the place.
Of course. It's a Sharknado.
They drive away. They drive downhill for some reason. And in the background, we notice, or we're made to see that April's house is basically crashing in on itself and completely demolished. Thank the Lord that Finn came, saved everyone's lives. One thing that I did notice about this, though, is that their house was the only one that got wrecked.
Only one.
The neighbor's
I said
house
the same thing.
Perfectly
Everyone else's house is fine, and it was just literally her house getting destroyed.
Yeah. So obviously, more
talk
faulty
about
engineering,
unlucky.
as you referenced.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
tremendously unlucky. So we do have them traveling further and further inland, headed towards Los Angeles, because that's obviously where people want to go to be safe.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does.
Yeah. On the way, they do see a school bus, which you can't tell from the outside is full of kids, but they assume correctly that it is full of children and one inept school bus driver who
interesting.
Who's basically comic book guy from Simpsons brought to life.
Absolutely. Great call on that.
Yeah.
I saw he was the teacher. I don't know why, but I remember him screaming at one point where he kids are always screaming at him all the time, and he gets great benefits or something. But I guess you could have all of those things as a school bus driver as well. So maybe he was a school bus driver.
There was no adult. There was no other adult, so I assume you would need only a bus driver, and it was a bus full of kids on their way home. That was my assumption, but it could have very well been a teacher, and the bus driver got eaten already. Who knows? Sharks are wild, man.
Sharks are wild.
So
sharks going to be sharks.
There's a bit of an argument between April and Finn at this point. Finn wants to go and save the kids. April is really only concerned with herself and obviously with getting wet because she is 90% plastic. So
you're mean today.
So Finn drives up to the top of the freeway.
I think
he decides that he is going to rappel down and save the kids individually, one at a time, using rappelling gear. One thing that I kind of was in disbelief on this is, like, who carries rappelling gear around with them? But I mean, he lives in California. Maybe he's going out rappelling. That's
a
fine.
Surfer dude. He's into the extreme sports. He could very well have a trunk full of gear. Who knows?
Yeah, so it's possible. So Finn hops down, starts hitting the kids one at a time. We get to the bus driver, who drops some pretty good lines on us about how he used to be scared of heights, but if it gets him away from sharks, let's do it.
He's fantastic. So, this guy is fantastic. This is Robbie Wrist, by the way.
They do.
This guy's fantastic.
He was well played.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little tidbit about him in the research part at the end.
Oh, please do.
Oh, I will. Unless you want it now.
Yeah,
right now? Okay, so Robbie Wrist is the lead singer of a band named Quint, okay? And Quint performs 7 of the songs on this soundtrack, including the Ballad of Sharknado. So that's how he got this spot in the movie. He is the lead singer of most of the songs on this movie. So Quint, of course, being the second reference to Jaws, because Quint is the name of the Jaws hunter in Jaws.
So the possibly a band that was only formed for this movie.
Very possible.
Very well possible.
Absolutely. Yes. So, and a betting man would choose that.
Yeah. So we do have the bus driver gets up. They are now completely safe on top of the freeway.
Everybody's
of course,
safe.
We have then strong winds start blowing. Everybody looks to the iconic Hollywood sign, which is then uprooted. All of the letters are sent directly at our main cast and nowhere else.
Only there. Yes.
Yeah. So
they were just in the wrong place.
Yeah, they are ducking and diving and swerving.
Yes.
And finally we have the line from from the lead singer of Quint, the bus driver, and he's laughing,
Robbie,
and he goes, "Ha ha
ha." You okay?
My mom always told me Hollywood would kill me.
One of the letters just dropped straight down.
Straight smushes him. Yeah.
There's not a lot they can do for him at this point. He's too far gone.
He might be too far gone, yeah.
And I like that the letter doesn't actually fall over. Like, it sticks into the ground only on top of him, and it just stays firm.
It just stays right there.
Thankfully, we have no other casualties.
Robbie's mom was right. And much to the chagrin of April, who didn't even want any of this to happen, they ended up saving a bunch of kids. So she does lighten up to it a little bit at this point.
Yes.
She's starting to buy into Finn, even though earlier she pretty much said, like, I hate how you're always trying to help people, and I'm glad we're divorced because you're always thinking about other people being, helped and saved and stuff. So.
Yeah. Little selfish.
Yeah. But she's warming up. She's got an arc. She's arcing, okay?
Yeah,
she's got to start somewhere to get somewhere else.
We do continue on at this point. And what we do learn somewhere along the way is that
sharks can climb ropes.
Yeah. Finn does have a second child. It's a son.
Yes.
And he is in flight school. So one thing that I found interesting about this is Finn at this point finds out that his son is in flight school. So they need to go save him. He says to his daughter, I thought he was in Florida partying with his friends, which this will come in handy a couple minutes later, because when his daughter is pouring her heart out to him and saying that you always put other people first, including her brother, he says, just remember, I came for you first.
He did.
But up until she told him that he was in flight school, he thought she was clean across the country, partying it up with his friends in Florida. So geographically, Florida and California, nowhere near each other. So there was no chance.
The point's still valid, Darren. The point's still valid. He could have physically gone to Florida, picked up his son, and came back to LA.
Where there are no shark tornadoes or hurricanes.
That allegedly that we know of. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how far this thing goes. There's 5 more movies.
Yeah, that's true. So we do eventually get to the flight school, which is like, and one thing that we need to keep.
How do we get to the flight school, Darren? How do we get to the flight school?
So the car is promptly destroyed by an explosion.
Yes.
Of no ignition whatsoever. They literally run out of gas and then stop, and then they say, "I smell gas." There's a gas leak. Yeah, the vehicle's flooded. Yeah. They smell gas. They run out. They're no more than 50 feet away, and the van explodes. Yeah. So they need a different vehicle. They head to a liquor store because that's where they need to go. And across the street from the liquor store is a Hollywood vehicle rental studio. So when we were talking earlier, you thought they stole it. I believe that Finn is too good to steal. He's a genuine human being. I think they rent this vehicle. It is a giant Hummer. And of course, one of the first things they do with the Hummer, run over a shark.
Run over a shark.
Just in case there was any doubt about how badass this truck is.
Yeah.
They run over a shark. Just to prove
they have definitely upgraded to this maybe stolen Humvee that has nitrous as well, because it's that kind of a movie.
It does.
It has a Humvee that has nitrous.
Give it a go.
Hold on, folks.
Hold on to your panties, ladies.
They do also have a short police chase that goes in a straight line.
Yes.
Then they kick in the nitrous booster to lose him. It is probably the least exciting car chase in movie history.
Yep.
Dead
well,
straight
you lived
line
through the OJ trial, so it can't be the most boring one.
So they
that was pretty straight line too, Darren.
Yeah, they do. They do eventually arrive at the Air Academy.
Yep.
Where all of the students and the one instructor are hiding in a booth in a tin shed. At this point, the weather around them, and I don't know if you noticed this, but we keep going from absolute horrendous Armageddon weather to beautiful LA day, like just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Whenever the plot demands it, the weather changes. Yeah, and I wrote in my notes, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a lot of things in this movie that are a little outrageous. I will grant you that, but for me, I wrote the worst thing that I had trouble believing was the wind continuity in this movie. The wind continuity was very difficult for me to get behind, because, like you said,
completely non-existent.
It went from everything to nothing. At one point in this airport area, a woman is sucked out of a skylight.
We were just getting to that.
Yeah, so she is sucked clean out of a skylight out of nowhere. The wind starts to pick up. 2 minutes before that, they were making fun of the people hiding in this little closet with this little metal railing. They all decide to pile into that closet, and Finn holds it shut. So what they were making fun of 2 minutes ago is now what's saving their lives. And Finn manages to hold the door shut against tornado-like winds. He's strong, man.
At this point,
they meet
all
up
the
with
planes
Matt.
are destroyed. Yeah. Yes.
And Matt's like 30. In this scene, Matt is 30. Young. And this is where I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So he started early with Tara Reid's character. Like he's got to be 30.
Yeah.
So the age there is a little bit hard for me. That was another part. I was like, oh, okay, there we go. So Matt's on the scene now.
Matt is on the scene, but there are no planes that have survived the hurricane or tornado or whatever weather pattern ravaged the airbase. So there's really no escape at this point until somebody goes, well, does that thing fly? And there's literally a helicopter that has been completely untouched by the weather.
Even though it was outside, too. It was outside. All the airplanes inside were destroyed, but outside was fine.
Yes, outside was fine. So at this point, we come up with the best course of action. And please, as our resident physicist, please tell me what they do to stop these tornadoes.
For our wonderful viewers at home, Darryn is making fun of me because I'm a physics teacher by trade. This is something we obviously do for fun outside of that. But yeah, this has been a point of a contention for years with us. But yes, absolutely. So they stumble upon their second very convenient store. The first being the liquor store where they could re-up all their supplies, have a little girl chat, and then kind of get out of there and rent the Humvee. This is the second one, and it's a hardware store. So they have access to chainsaws and barbed wire and all kinds of things they can attach to the vehicle to make it a little safer. And of course, they have found these propane tanks. So the idea that they come up with is they will create a series of bombs that will explode when dropped from the helicopter. And that rapid expansion of heat would be enough to balance out the tornado temperatures and dissipate the Sharknado, causing all the sharks to fall at that point. So I have to tell you, Darryn, that I came into this movie just to be entertained. I did not expect to be educated. So I feel like I think Sharknado deserves bonus points for teaching a physics teacher that you can, in fact, blow up a tornado to stop it. That is something I did not know until I watched this film. So.
Very important. And one thing that I'll go back a little bit. Sure. When they are searching for weapons and they do find the propane tanks, Finn grabs a weapon and asks April if she can handle it. There's a table full of chainsaws for some reason.
Yes.
Do you recognize the weapon that he hands to April?
Is it like a hedge trimmer?
It is a goddamn hedge trimmer. and he literally has the gall to ask her if she can handle it, and then gives it to her as a weapon to defend against great white, hammerhead, and tiger sharks that are falling from the sky.
I feel like he was asking her if that was in her wheelhouse, and her response is like just straight up, oh yeah, this is definitely something I can handle. I felt like this was kind of like the spark kind of reigniting between these two at this point, because they were talking, they were bantering back and forth. She's warming back up to Finn. I feel like there might be a little bit of heat left in the furnace here at this point. So
which is good, because at this point Nova has been introduced to Matt, and she is head over heels for this 30-year-old
she's digging
version of Finn.
Yeah, so they're talking, and he asks her about her scar, and at first she says that she cut herself shaving, which is like the second thing that she mentioned about her scar that wasn't true. But he kind of eggs her on to say a little bit more, and since she's kind of digging what he said, she tells him the second Jaws reference. So she says when she was a little girl, she was attacked by sharks, and 6 people went into the water, and only 1 little girl came out. So obviously sharks are a big part of a tragedy in her life, and we get our second of 4 Jaws references. So yeah, but Matt's got game, because right after that he says what probably secures the deal for him. He says, well, now I hate sharks too.
That's it. It was love.
That's all you need, man.
Okay, so at this point, we get airborne. Up go Matt and Nova, and they are bombing tornadoes. They managed to knock out the first 2. They obviously saved the biggest one for last. And this is where we kind of get into another point of disbelief for me.
Oh,
How many bombs
of
did
course.
they take off with, Rob?
They packed 3.
They had 3 bombs for
Yes,
3 tornadoes. And
got packed light in a copper, man. I know.
Absolutely nobody's surprised except Nova and Matt. The third
Yes.
bomb doesn't work, and of course, a shark jumps out of the tornado, grabs onto the bottom of the helicopter, the rails, and launches Nova out of the helicopter into another great white shark's mouth. So
yes, she is eaten by a great white shark in midair.
We lose Nova, who at this point was probably the highlight of the movie.
Yes, at this point I started caring a lot less.
To a tragic helicopter / shark accident. So
yes, and right before this, she mentions the third Jaws reference, which is we're going to need a bigger chopper. So right before dying, she drops that gem of a line, and she falls to being eaten by a great white.
Not. We're going to need more bombs. We're going to need a bigger chopper.
We're going to need a bigger chopper because it fits the line.
Yeah.
This is where I want to steal the show from you because I want to talk about this series of events that happen. Awesome. Okay, so this is at 1 hour and 12 minutes into the movie, and we're getting to our big climax. But before we do, there's this series of events that happen so quick that if you blink, you miss them. So I'm just going to run them down for you really quick, Darren. And this is where the movie secured me, and it was like absolute love at this point. I knew I was bought in. So at 1 hour and 12, Finn chainsaws through a shark like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Okay, this is followed immediately by some random shark checking some random dude onto some spikes that are in front of the Humvee. At this point, Baz gets bit on the same leg as before by a new shark and dies. So he can't do the failsafe plan B that we haven't even talked about yet.
I need to stop you right there.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
How badass is Baz as he gets gnawed on by this shark?
Oh,
if you look at his face, he's just like, dang, get off me, shark. He's totally dead. No pain whatsoever. No. He's just mildly annoyed by the second shark that day to chomp on his left leg. And he's just like, crud. And then
and then dies. Yeah.
And then we lose Baz.
He wasn't going to sell it. If he was suffering, he wasn't going to sell it. So
he wasn't giving that
Taz
shark
is
nothing.
gone. No, he would not. So he's gone. Meanwhile, Finn is outside Lara Crofting with 2 pistols shooting sharks out of the air. And on the TV, Johnny with an Eye is the newscaster who's been kind of updating us throughout the rest of the movie. And she gets eaten by sharks on the news live. And then a bunch of sharks are flying into power lines and getting barbecued. And then one of my favorite scenes, maybe in any shark attack movie ever, a dude is walking down the street. He gets his arm ripped off by one shark. He is getting gnawed on in the leg by another shark while screaming and spitting up blood. Meanwhile, a third shark just flies out of the sky and a hammerhead gorilla press slams on top of him for the kill. And it's just like, that dude is dead. He is not. And that's what caps off this
many levels.
The 3 minutes of absolute insanity of Sharknado's climax. All of these things are happening within 3 minutes. So we're at the very end. We've got 1 tornado left. We've got no bombs left, and we've got Nova eaten by a great white. So things aren't going so well, Darren. Go ahead, take it from.
So we actually do have 1 bomb left, and you alluded to it a minute ago. So Taz is the failsafe. He's got a truck, the monster truck that they rented. I'll say rented. You say stole it. Is allegedly. Packed full of bombs that they decided not to take up in the helicopter, and it is ready to go. So Finn, in all his heroicness, decides to take the truck and drive it straight into the tornado like Taz was going to.
Yes.
As he nears the ramp that's heading straight conveniently towards the tornado, he hits the nitrous button, waves at the tornado, and then jumps out.
He actually hang looses. That I don't want to cut you off. He hang loose and then he jumps out. So he punches the gas, he lights it, hang loose, and dives out. Yeah.
So of course the truck flies off of the ramp and into the tornado. It explodes. Tornado dissipates. Everything's good, or is it? Because we do have a giant great white shark barreling down towards Finn, because sharks can aim where they are going when they're flying out of the tornado. Right. Finn runs towards the shark, lights up his chainsaw, dives into the shark, and is eaten whole.
Yes.
And we are collectively devastated that this could have possibly happened to our shining hero.
Yes.
Or did it?
Because
Finn waits about, and you can see a couple times the shark's stomach is bulging.
Yes.
And then, of course, chainsaw comes through the skin and cuts a straight line down. Yep. Out comes Finn, and he is mercifully safe.
Yes.
And that is the end of that.
Yeah,
or
but he's...
is it? Yeah. No, it is not.
It's not over yet.
He then catches his breath first.
Yes.
Reaches into the shark and pulls out a body, and everybody is pleased to see that it is in fact Nova. She has been eaten in one piece, just like Finn, into the same shark out of the thousands that were in the tornado.
Happens to be the same great white. Yeah. What are the odds of that?
So,
amazing odds.
Finn then to
finally
his
some
discredit,
good luck in
unfortunately. Well, sorry, but to his discredit, walks away from Nova without even attempting to help her out after pulling her out of the shark. So Matt goes, "Oh, geez," and hops on her, performs some CPR. Nova is safe and sound.
Yes.
And everybody's time to live that happily ever after.
Exactly. April is back in the loving arms of Finn. Matt has rekindled with who he thought he had lost at such a fragile point in their relationship with Nova. Nova's covered head to toe in blood, except for like an obvious like goggle stain mark for her eyes, which is great. And and I mean, you said that how Finn wasn't going to save her, man. But I mean, I don't know about you, but like after I've draxed through great white shark's belly, I don't really know if I would have the energy to do CPR at that point. So I'm going to let the fresh young guy come in and do that. Maybe you have maybe you have more endurance than me. I don't know.
Without even telling him, just not even signaling towards him. Just like, oh, hopefully he figures it out.
He's gonna pick it up. Of course he is. It's his girl.
All right, so we're gonna call that the end of this movie.
But it isn't though, because the end of this movie, or is it? The end of this movie is cut to black, and the word "fin," like French for finished, flashes across the screen.
But also like a shark fin.
Oh,
but
I
also like the main character.
That's what I thought it was.
That's what we like to call the triple entendre, if you will. Nobody will.
Good. Nobody will.
They
might not have even gotten this far.
Even Finn is like, that's no good. All right, so that is a wrap on Sharknado. So now we get to the fun part of the podcast.
Sure.
As if we weren't having enough fun already.
I was having lots of fun.
With you defending this movie. So
it's a good movie.
I'd like to start with our favorite lines of this movie. So I have 3 selected, and I have brought them up throughout, and I need you to pick.
I will pick happily.
The first line by our local bar drunk is, after Nova stabs the shark with a pool cue, "For an environmentalist, you sure do hate sharks." Up until this point,
rest in peace,
this is what I really like about this line. Up until this point, and at no other point in the movie is Nova referred to as anything but anything but either a stripper by Tara Reid or a waitress. So she is not an environmentalist at all. So interesting line by George. However, we move on.
He was a little drunk. He could have been.
Second line of the movie by one of my favorites, Taz. In a blood-filled pool of water in the house.
Yes.
Looks like it's that time of month.
Oh.
Wow. Taz, epic, buddy.
What a gem.
And then we have our third and final line for you to choose from. by our lovable Simpsons comic book guru, bus driver, and right before he has a Hollywood sign drop on him and kill him.
Yes.
My mom always said Hollywood would kill me.
These are fantastic lines, Darren.
They're all
excellent
great
picks.
lines, yes.
I'm going with the one that offended me and made me laugh out loud at the same time. I'm going with It's That Time of the Month from Baz the Tasmanian. Gosh, I don't know what to say. So I'm just going to let it speak for itself. I'll just let it breathe. Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah. So then moving forward, what I would like from you is, who is your favorite character?
I really struggled with this one. I loved all the characters in this movie, every single one. And I don't think I can give it to the hammerhead shark that gorilla pressed the random dude to death. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it to Robbie of Quint, who lives in LA. And according to their Facebook, they hate sharks and produce songs about hating sharks. I'm giving it to Robbie Riss, the bus driver.
The bus driver. Wow.
Yeah.
That is an off pick that I didn't think would come up.
He was in the movie 2 minutes, and he made me laugh the entire 2 minutes.
For me, it's actually the delivery boy of your favorite line in this movie, Jason Simmons playing Baz Hogan. He was horrible throughout this movie. At no point did he come close to acting anything like a character should.
Wasn't really redeeming himself.
He was completely
at any point.
unconvincing.
Yeah.
But the moment that he won me over was his badassery while having a shark on his leg and just kind of kicking at it slightly and just not showing any kind of pain on his face whatsoever. Dude is 100% badass, and that was my favorite character.
Okay.
So,
I'm with you 100%. Good choice. Good stuff. So,
man. I guess the fun part for our rating system. So we haven't quite nailed.
We've
down
been working
the
this out.
system.
Yeah, we still.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to seeing how we do this.
Yeah. So did you happen to pick up the Rotten Tomatoes scores on this movie?
I did.
All right.
The Rotten Tomatoes score for critic response was 78%, which is certified fresh. Good movie. And the audience one was a whopping 33%.
All right.
So 78 and 33. Now, if we take these two numbers and we take an average of them and we compare them to the other scores we've had so far, the number one winner so far in our 4 episodes is The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot with 63 points. The Loss of Passer is coming in second with 61. Sharknado has 55, and Masters of the Universe does the poorest at 28. So far, Sharknado comes in third without our input. So if we're just going off of Rotten Tomatoes, this guy's taking third so far to 4.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what you rated this movie at?
Yeah. So I went into this movie with very little expectations, and to be honest, when you suggested it, I kind of shrugged it a little bit. I was not looking forward to it when we started. We both missed this movie in 2013, which would have been on our radar, and I don't know how we both missed it. And this is the first time that we're seeing it in 2020. So I'm going to tell you my number, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm giving it a 70 out of 100%. I consider this to be a good, fun movie. And to back up my point, I'm going to use a critic's quote to tell you exactly how I feel about this movie, Darren. David Hinckley of the New York Daily News said, "Sharknado is an hour and a half of your life that you will not get back, and you won't want to." I loved it.
That is a very good quote.
Perfectly explains how I felt before and now.
Yeah, given light of that quote, my original number that popped into mind was 37%.
37.
I found this movie hard to get through.
Okay.
One thing that continually bothered me was the constant change of weather patterns, going from beautiful LA day to all of a sudden it's a tornado to beautiful LA day into a hurricane.
Yes.
into beautiful LA day, and then back and forth from hurricane to beautiful day to tornadoes.
Yes.
And just absolutely no explanation of why, except at one point when they actually do explain it at the beginning of the movie on the newscast. They say that global warming is definitely to blame.
Yes.
Which I think was just a really lame cop-out. So having said that,
Or the truth.
Given the
Or the
line
truth.
that your critic delivered,
Yeah.
or given the line that your critic delivered, I'm inclined to bump it up. I'll give it another 16%, and I'll say that this one came in at 53%.
53.
I think it is something that if you're looking for an hour and a half of your life to kill that you may or may not regret, I think it's pretty close to a 50-50 shot. For me, I could have done without seeing it, maybe just seeing a couple highlights. The special effects were not special. I think they could have had less and done more with them.
Agreed.
And the story was hard, and the characters were just well out of age whack. You got a 21-year-old girl who's arguing with her dad over whether or not she wants to go with him in some kind of weird custody battle. The son who's obviously
that hung you up on that, eh? You got kind of hung up on that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's such a small part of a movie full of sharks falling from the sky.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm with you, man. I completely
rating.
understand.
I'll give it 53.
Right. It's a good rating. It's a good rating. I'm glad I convinced you to up it a little bit. This movie was a made-for-TV movie. They didn't expect it to do really much of anything. There was not a lot of publicity behind it. From what I've researched, it was just kind of a fun thing to do to start Shark Week off on the Syfy channel. And the only reason they even got Ian Ziering to play the main character is his insurance was about to run out from his from being an actor and being out of work. And his SAG benefits were going to expire if he didn't work very soon. And he had a second baby on the way. And when this script came up, he said, yeah, fine, sure, I'll do it. Just so that he could basically renew his SAG benefits for his wife's pregnancy. So baby number 2 is on the way. He agreed to do this movie. And the rest is history. It absolutely exploded. And according to some alleged research that I found, this might be the most lucrative franchise of all time, Darren, including the Marvel MCU universe. According to some websites, this franchise of 5 movies has allegedly made, get this, $4.5 billion. I don't know how they come up with that number, and I couldn't find any numbers that back it up. I find it hard to believe. I can tell in your face you might not believe that it beat Thanos and the Marvel MCU, but this movie took $1 million to make, and what an ambitious thing. Like, we're going to make sharks in CG, and we're going to try our best for a made-for-TV movie, and I feel like we got a nice little treat here. That's what I felt.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say that website either A, does not exist, or B, substituted.
You're right. I made it all up.
The sheer audacity of you to come onto this highly touted podcast and and tell me that this heaping pile of awesome came anywhere near making, I don't care if there was 50 movies, $4.5 billion.
It's just what I read, Darren. It's just alleged. I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. It'll be one of those things like global warming. We may never know.
I feel like we could probably find this out fairly easily.
It's up to you.
I will say
you want
that
to do some research, you go ahead.
If we were to review another one of these movies, it would have to be Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens. It has brilliant artwork on the poster, obviously drawing off The Force Awakens by Star Wars. There's lightsabers for some reason.
Sure.
And I would be interested to watch that.
But you might have to watch that one on your own. We'll let our viewers decide. If this thing is catching on and there's some people, maybe put it in the comments if you want us to watch more of these, and we'll be happy to do that. Darren, speaking of watching more monster movies, what do we have coming up next? Did we decide?
I believe that you asked for a particular movie on the next one after Sharknado, but I cannot remember what it is.
Yes, that's right. I wanted to do Tremors next, starring Kevin Bacon. Are you all right with that?
I would love to see Tremors for about the 6th time in my life. Yeah, that is a classic. I'm looking forward to the review on that one.
Excellent. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to pull it apart with you. Moving forward, what I think we should do, because we've got a list of movies we kind of are thinking about doing for this podcast. And of course, we're always open to anyone who wants to suggest more that we can take our eyeballs and give it a good stare down. But what I want to do maybe after Tremors is what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the movies that we had suggested in a list, and I'll do a random number generator at the end of Tremors on our next broadcast. And we'll learn which random movie in that list is the next one we'll review. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good about that with one stipulation.
Sure.
When Velocipaster 2 is made, that gets to the top of the list.
I knew our friendship would be difficult. I knew we would have hardships. Deal. You have a deal.
All right. Great. All right. Well, thank you, my friend, for joining me again on this wonderful adventure. For those of you interested, our Sharknado review averages somewhere around the 63 between the two of us. So you should check that out. We are recommending it. Thank you very much,
recommend.
Rob. Say goodbye to the pleasant people.
Yeah. Like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying it. And we'll be back with another one here. Tremors is next, and I can't wait.
Perfection. A scorched outpost in the middle of nowhere.
You know how close I am to leaving this place right now? How close?
Maybe that's why Val and Earl decided to leave town.
Hey, hold up. That's Edgar Deans.
They just picked the wrong day to do it.
Jeez. You guys better get the hell out of here. There's a killer on the loose. Who could be doing it?
Is that a snake?
I'll give you boys $5 for this. 20. That's how they get you. They're under the ground.
What the hell are those things? How could they eat a whole station wagon?
But where do they come from?
I vote for outer space. No way these are local boys. You see, they're headed right for us.
No Richter scale can measure it.
They're coming!
No scientist can explain it.
Bert, they're under the ground.
You didn't get penetration even with the elephant gun.
Run, run!
And no one knows what to call it.
Megaworms or suckers or suckoids.
Now, this valley is just one long smorgasbord.
Now, it's up to Val and Earl to save the world.
That's one big mother. Who died and made you Einstein?
And they know just what to do. Flip for it.
Damn.
Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward,